Live from downtown Detroit, home of WDIV and Click on Detroit, Local 4 News at noon starts now.
Start your engines. As the auto industry begins reopening plants, workers return to the line in a new world.
They've modified stations to make sure everything is safe and ready to go.
Still, some are concerned about returning.
Well, I know personally 5 people that passed away from this. 4 of them worked here, 1 worked next door. So we're scared.
Ahead at noon, a closer look at the safety precautions in place. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Rhonda Walker. Thank you so much for joining us. We will get to the very latest on the coronavirus in just a moment, but we do want to talk about your forecast on this Monday afternoon. We are looking at 4 Live radar, and you can see it's a pretty busy map with a lot of rain across the state. Meteorologist Brandon Rude joins us now with just how wet we're going to get, and then when all of this wet weather moves out.
It's coming at me sideways here in Grosse Pointe Woods. The wind and the rain, problematic, more so for some than others, but can feel that wind blowing out here, and a little light rain just started on me. So let's start with 4 Live radar, and you can see where some of the heavier rains have been coming from south to north through Ann Arbor, now into Livingston County. Deluge type rains. Anybody heading to the west toward Jackson, look out. That is some heavy stuff. And we're all under a flood watch until this evening, and that just means be watchful. Don't drive into standing water. Keep an eye on the basements, your small rivers and creeks. But east siders near the big lakes have the biggest problem. And part of that is these east winds that are upwards of 14, 15 miles an hour, constantly going with temperatures near 60 degrees. So we have flood watches for everybody and a flood warning here for the lakeshore communities near Lake Erie, Lake St. Clair, Lake Huron, and there could be some serious flooding to roadways, to homes, and erosion problems. But in the meantime, the heaviest of the rain yet to come into the area. It will be through the mid or late afternoon and evening hours. Temperatures stay in the 60s. That's it. And again, Rhonda, flood watch for real because of some of the heavier bands that we'll be setting up on top of us through the afternoon or evening. Could be record rainfall in Detroit and problematic in many, many ways.
All right, Brandon, we'll check back in with you shortly. Meanwhile, let's get you to the very latest on the coronavirus across the state of Michigan. We want to give you the breakdown of our case count as of the last update on Sunday. And here we are with 11 more confirmed deaths. In total, we have lost more than 4,800 people to this virus across the state, and the bulk of those deaths are right here in Metro Detroit. With 638 new confirmed cases as of Sunday, the state of Michigan surpassed the 51,000 mark of cases. And new updates have been coming mid-afternoon every single day, so we'll have more updates for you later on today. You'll find that at clickondetroit.com and on our mobile app. It's also important to note that many people recover from the coronavirus, and the official recovery total as of yesterday, or I should say as of the weekend, 28,234 people have recovered from the coronavirus. These numbers come out once a week on Saturdays. Also making headlines this noon, more City of Detroit workers will be back on the job today, or they already are. Those returning to the office are the Law Department, the Bridging Neighborhoods Office, the Census Office, and municipal parking employees. Meantime, as the auto industry begins reopening plants, President Trump is expected to visit one of them right here in Ypsilanti on Thursday. The White House says that the visit is to the Ford Motor Company Rawsonville plant to thank those businesses for producing PPE and medical equipment like ventilators. And we just mentioned that the big 3 automakers have restarted production. They are back to work today after being shut down for nearly 2 months. Certainly not business as usual. General Motors, Ford, and Fiat Chrysler have implemented significant changes in safety protocols. For a closer look at those new protocols, let's get to Nick Monticelli. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. So yeah, a lot of workers back at work right now, but I can tell you it's either staggered start times or just a drop in percentage. For instance, here at FCA, they're saying they've only got about 36% of the workforce coming back. Those that did come back, They knew it was going to take them a while to get back in the plant. This line was a block long all the way down Mound.
So that person, this one protects me from this person.
We began seeing the changes inside auto plants last week. FCA showing us the physical changes inside the Sterling Heights assembly plant, hoping to mitigate the spread of the virus.
They've modified stations to make sure everything is safe and ready to go.
It's clear the steps you'd assume to be there certainly are. Temperature checks, hand sanitizing stations, self-reporting questionnaires, staggered start times, socially distanced break rooms, and more. But after talking to the big three, we know their number one line of defense is face masks, shields, and eye protection. Dr. Jeff Hess is GM's medical director.
That mask should be containing everything that you're spewing out of your mouth and your nose in that mask.
One of the things we've heard concerns about are large fans blowing in workers' faces in hot plants. Hess says they've moved them, but the air circulation is still necessary.
You don't want it blowing in your face and blowing to your next, the person next to you so that they're breathing it in. That's not the idea. But as long as you've got some air movement, that really does help keep things from being stagnant.
Like its competitive counterparts, Ford has redesigned how workers will enter plants and will monitor the temperatures of those coming in. CEO Jim Hackett says while workers used to be shoulder to shoulder working on vehicles, now they'll use the vehicles to spread out.
The advantage here is there's two sides of the vehicle where you can make that happen. You can actually stage stations so that you can have the social distancing.
The workers, though, are the ones at risk. So we asked them as they came to work today, do you feel safe going back?
Not really. But, they want to get the economy on a rise. I guess this is the way they want to go.
Well, I know personally 5 people that passed away from this. 4 of them worked here, 1 worked next door. So we're scared.
My wife's a nurse, my sons are cops. I'm ready. Let's go. Let's get this done. We got to do it sooner or later.
In Warren, Nick Monticelli, Local 4.
Nick, thank you. Now to Ford Motor Company. The automaker is using technology to help keep its workers safe. Workers are wearing watches that vibrate when they get too close to each other to promote social distancing. On the Today Show this morning, Ford CEO Jim Hackett said that the last couple of months have convinced him a reopening can be done safely.
In the 9, almost 10 weeks, no one came down with the virus working close to each other. Plus, we've had experience in Europe now, in Thailand, and of course already in China. We've not had one instance where the factory had a virus. If we take these steps, we can keep the place safe.
And as auto workers get back to work, more Americans are now leaving the house. Stay-at-home or shelter-in-place orders are also being lifted at dozens of states across the country.
Everyone's watching this to see what this grand experiment is going to result in. But we know for an absolute certainty that as you increase physical interactions between people, you are going to increase the number of new cases.
We do not have good restrictions or good guidelines in place for people how to reopen. It's going to become very confusing for people. We're going to see more and more cases.
Meanwhile, officials with the Centers for Disease Control are warning the death toll in the country could pass 100,000 by the first day of June. Right now, there are more than 1,400,000 confirmed coronavirus cases in the United States, and more than 89,000 Americans have died from this virus. Just jaw-dropping. That's according to the Johns Hopkins University database. Meantime, as Sam Brock reports, top health officials are warning against reopening too much too soon.
Almost all 50 states are now partially reopened, from restaurants and retail to churches and casinos. The only remaining holdouts, Massachusetts' stay-at-home order expires today, while Connecticut's order lasts through Wednesday. On Sunday, the nation's health secretary signaling early signs are promising.
In areas that are opening, we're not seeing this spike in cases. We still see spikes in some areas that are in fact closed, very localized situations.
While Colorado and Georgia have not seen dramatic jumps, Texas just recorded its single highest spike of coronavirus cases on Saturday, more than 2,700. This as gyms and offices in the Lone Star State come back today. The warm weekend weather luring New Yorkers outdoors, crowds outside restaurants and bars.
Thank you.
Parks and beaches packed. Coast to coast, visitors flocking to beaches. In New Jersey, a test run before Memorial Day. Farther north in the Bay Area, a bewildering scene in San Francisco Friday. Residents of the always social Marina neighborhood practicing virtually no social distancing outside this wine bar.
It was very upsetting.
Also upsetting, a warning from Butte County a few hours away in Northern California, after a churchgoer recently tested positive for coronavirus, exposing 180 people and renewing warnings on large social gatherings. In Florida, as Miami Beach's restaurant scene economic fuel for South Florida eyes a reopen, the governor is considering easing the ban on vacation rentals, but not for everyone.
If you tell me you're going to rent them out to people from New York City, I'm probably not going to approve that, okay?
In South Florida, Sam Brock, NBC News.
Thank you, Sam. Meantime, encouraging news about the fight against COVID-19 has sent the stock market soaring today. We take a look at the Dow Jones Industrial Average, which came roaring back to score big gains today after substantial losses last week. The market is getting a big boost from early reports of promising results in a testing of experimental coronavirus vaccine. Investors are also encouraged about rising hopes for a more rapid reopening of the economy. Travel and leisure and entertainment stocks showed strong gains as well. And Detroit's automakers are riding the wave. Shares in General Motors, Ford, and FCA are all up more than 7% today. And as always, we have you covered on clickondetroit.com. Our website is packed with useful information for you to get through this crisis. The place to go is clickondetroit.com/coronavirus. Still to come this noon, the FBI finds a link between the gunman in a Pensacola shooting and an Al-Qaeda operative. After the break, a look at how they uncovered this troubling connection.